The Chicago Blackhawks ended their 5-game losing streak in dramatic fashion with a comeback win on Sunday. But are they ready to take on the big boys this year? Jack Bushman of Locked On Blackhawks talks about the progress of this team and what it'll take to get to the next level. All that and more next on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here. Welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. And thank you for helping to make Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Blackhawks, Jack Bushman. And Jack, a dramatic win for the Blackhawks. They end their 5-game losing streak, down 3-0. They come back and win. What made the difference after they fall behind early?
Yeah, Gil, first, just want to say thank you so much for having me back on the show. Always greatly appreciate it. Yeah, huge comeback victory by the Blackhawks. You referenced the 5-game losing streak that they were riding, and this was the final game of a current 4-game homestand before they're about to head out west for a 4-game road trip. Each of those games coming against teams that are currently sitting in a playoff spot. So yeah, for many different reasons, this was a key one for the Blackhawks, and they've shown their resiliency a lot so far this season, Gil, and I think that's very impressive considering they have a new head coach in his first year with the team. They're one of the youngest teams in the entire NHL, but they don't back down. They don't quit, and they really have been uncompetitive, I'd say, in 2 of their opening 25 games. Like, they find ways to have games come down to the wire, and despite their horrendous start in this one, this game still was determined in the third period. But I really do think the key moment, Gil, was getting a huge power play goal before the end of the first. They surrender 2 goals in the opening minute, give up a third just over the halfway point. But to get a power play goal from Tyler Bertuzzi, his 7th power play tally already of the season, by the way, to get that before going into the intermission, I think kind of settled this group down a little bit and allowed them to go out in the second period, know that, hey, we weren't very good out of the gates, but we're not out of this thing. And they fought hard the rest of the way and got the job done in the third period to snap that 5-game losing skid and hopefully give them some good vibes as they head out west. Big time goal from Tyler Bertuzzi there in the later stages of the first period.
What was going wrong during the losing streak? What changed?
Yeah, honestly, it was just not playing a full 60-minute game. Go back to the first game of their losing streak. They were actually riding a 6-game point streak prior to that, and they were up 2-0 in the third period against the Seattle Kraken, wind up giving up 3 unanswered goals there to lose by 1. Then against the Minnesota Wild, last week, they had leads of 2-1 and 3-2 in the third period, just weren't able to hang on to it. And in that stretch as well, they had a 1-0 loss to the Colorado Avalanche, the best team in all of hockey. So it's not like the Blackhawks really have been playing dreadful outside of a 9-3 embarrassing defeat to the Buffalo Sabres. But in their other 4 losses during the losing streak, they weren't really playing poor hockey. They just weren't playing a full 60-minute game and securing those leads when they did have them. So it was really nice to see them not only come all the way back down from 3-0 against the Ducks, but when they got that 4-3 advantage in the third, go and hang on to it, and also didn't make Spencer Knight have to work all that hard in the final stretches. So really good way to finish this game against the Anaheim Ducks, something the Hawks just weren't able to do in a couple of their games prior.
We got to talk Connor Bedard, just playing off the charts excellent right now. What has been the big difference in his game this season as compared to last season?
Well, Gil, he's just improved literally every aspect of his game. But I would say the thing that's really helped take him into that next level and really usher him into the superstar we all knew he was going to become when he first got drafted is the speed. We've seen the creativity, we've seen the offensive instincts and the playmaking along with the deadly release that he possesses. But the one thing that kind of held him back in his first 2 seasons was he just didn't have that blow-by speed to go and shoot past defenders. And he was mostly having to beat guys in one-on-one situations with his hands or with his creativity. But now, Gil, he's a 90th percentile skater in the NHL in terms of top speed, also in terms of 20-mile-an-hour bursts. So he's consistently being one of the faster skaters in the league now, and that's really given him that extra edge and allowed him to kind of separate and create more time and space for himself. And when Bedard gets time and space to work with in the offensive zone, bad things are going to happen for the opponent, and he's able to do that a lot more now with the new wheels. And that was really the key thing that he focused on during his offseason training, which, of course, he bypassed playing for Team Canada at the World Championships while Macklin Celebrini did. But instead of going and playing for Team Canada, he was working on his game, working on that skating speed, and it's definitely paying dividends so far as he's looked like one of the top players in the entire NHL so far to kick off year 3 for him.
Besides Bedard, what are some of the other reasons for this team's progress this year? Has the coaching been a major impact?
Oh, coaching undoubtedly has been a huge impact. Jeff Blashill, I cannot say enough good things about the start to his tenure. And I was really impressed right from day one of training camp, how he came in and set the tone, made sure these guys knew that they were going to have to work hard to get to where they want to go on the ice. And to me, it's been pretty clear that he's the best head coach the Hawks have had since Joel Quenneville was fired nearly a decade ago now. He's made a world's difference, and I know Blackhawks fans are even more excited thinking about once he gets settled in a little bit and grows relationships more and more with some of these players, gets just settled in here in Chicago. There's going to be a very bright future for this team because of the stacked prospect pool that they have, and also because I think they have a really good head coach. But I definitely got to give a shout out to Spencer Knight as well, Gil, because without Spencer, the Blackhawks would not be off to such a competitive start that they are here this year. And Knight, every time he's in between the pipes, he's giving the Blackhawks a chance. Truly has played at a Vezina Trophy caliber level so far, and is making that trade that Kyle Davidson made with the Florida Panthers last March look really, really savvy, because not only do we get Knight, who looks like our new number 1 goalie of the future, we also got Florida's unprotected first-round pick, and they're struggling a little bit here to open up this 25-26 campaign. So on multiple different fronts, really great trade by Kyle Davidson. Spencer Knight has secured the future in goal for Chicago.
So what are the keys to maybe making the playoffs this year, or at least having a successful season, and what needs to be improved?
Yeah, I would just say I don't want to get too high or talk, like ruin the morale or anything. Playoffs is going to be very hard for this team to do just because they're so young, just because they're so inexperienced. And we know there's going to be highs and lows. We've seen the Blackhawks have three-game losing streaks already this season. I believe we've seen them have 3 4-game point streaks. So we know what they're capable of, but there are those kind of young learning moments that they suffer every now and again. It's just simply inevitable with the youth that this group possesses, also with Jeff Blashill being in his first year as the head coach of this team. But I just give the Blackhawks credit for consistently showing a strong fight. And I mentioned the game against the Colorado Avalanche this past weekend, went toe-to-toe with them and really showed that they can hang with the best in this league. It's just hard to count on the Blackhawks to beat those top-tier teams on a consistent basis. The one thing I would say I think they need to improve or certainly need to address, I think, a little bit to help them get back to the real streaky start they were off to in those first couple of weeks is getting Frank Nazar going, the second line center. And I feel like part of this is Nazar's been dealing with a little bit of an injury, missed a couple of games earlier on in November, but when he was producing at a point per game rate those first 10 to 15 games and establishing a super threatening second line behind Connor Bedard, I mean, the Blackhawks had a real good 1-2 punch offensively, and Nazar doesn't have a goal since October 28th. Hopefully he'll be able to get healthy and find his footing a little bit. Still also only 21 years old himself, going through the grind of a full NHL season for the first time as a pro. But if he can kind of pick up his production, provide consistent goal scoring and production on that second line, I really do think that's going to be key for the Blackhawks and will help keep them in contention for the Stanley Cup playoffs for a majority of the season.
Jack, it's exciting times now in Chicago. Why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Exciting times indeed, Gil. If you want to check out Locked On Blackhawks, you can find it for free wherever you may be listening to your podcast. If you want to check out my personal, you can do so at Jack Bushman 2 on X and on Instagram.
All right, Jack, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me, Gil. Appreciate you.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props are updated as guys heat up. You can bet on next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.